So let's review the project scope for the second project. This is going to be a save tweet into the local storage. The user can save new tweets using an HTML form, and they are going to be saved into local storage. The messages are going to be saved into local storage. An unlimited number of messages can be added into the storage. When the page is loading, the messages should be loaded also from local storage, and they are going to be displayed in the page. The user can remove messages, and this will remove also these messages from the local storage. So let's review the project. So this is going to be the project, something really simple, but we're going to learn how to read the values from this text area. So we're going to add something like this, learning modern JavaScript, and we can click here on save tweet, and you can see we have tweet added. Click here on OK, and you can see the form is reset, and we have this on the list. So let me add a second one, checking this awesome project, and I'm gonna add a second tweet. You can see we have tweet added. Okay, now we have two items into my tweets. So the advantage of using local storage is that we can reload this, and since we are saving this into the storage, these values are going to be read from the local storage and are going to be displayed right here. So for example, let's say that you want to remove one of these, you can click here. It's going to remove this from the tweets, and again you can reload, and you can see that we removed the other tweet, but this one is still there. So this is going to be the second project. You are going to learn a lot in this project, basically these form submissions and also local storage. In the course materials for this chapter, you will find this local storage form. We're going to open this into the editor, and we're going to open also the index.html. We're going to open this with live server, and this is going to be the project that we're going to build. It's going to be really simple, something to practice a little more the local storage. So the idea here is that we have this text area. We're going to write something. So for example, learn JavaScript, and once you click here on save tweet, it's going to display the tweet here on the right, and this is going to be saved also in the local storage. Also, it will have the ability to remove this using local storage also. So let's open the project, and you can see that we have this index.html. If I make this a little bigger, you can see that we have this form. It has this ID called form. Also, the text area has this ID called tweet. So we're going to access this using this ID and this submit. Here on the right, we have this tweet list. This is where we are going to print the tweets once we press save tweet here on the button. So this is really simple HTML. You can see this one is built using a framework called Skeleton. We have also a custom CSS, so you can open this CSS folder and you can see some of the styling for this example. If you open the JavaScript folder, you will find this app.js, and this is going to be an empty file. So we're gonna start working with this. So I'm gonna divide this into three different sections. We're gonna call this one variables. This part is going to be for the event listeners, and the functions are going to be right here. So this is going to be a more organized way to, well, organize the functionality of this project. So here in the event listeners, I'm going to add a function. This is going to be a function called event listeners. So we're gonna add event listeners, and the first event listener that we're going to need is the form submission. So we need to add, for example, document that query selector. And if you remember, we can select this, for example, using this tag called form, or also the ID. So something like this if you want to use the tag, or something like this if you want to use the ID. Then we're gonna attach the event listener right here, submit, and then this is going to run a function called new tweet. So we're gonna create this function also. Right here I'm going to add function, new tweet, and we're gonna pass the event first, because when we submit this, we want to prevent the default. prevent the default. So this is going to stop the form from submitting, and here on the functions, we're going to add the code that is going to be executed instead of the default behavior. So finally, this is going to be event listener. So this must be called right here. And we're gonna make a test. We're gonna add right here console.log form submitted like this. Just to test that everything is working, we're gonna inspect the element, open the console, and write something if you want. Click on save tweet, and you can see that we're preventing the default first, and then the form is submitted. You can see that we have this text right here. So everything is working. The event listeners are set. The form is working, is communicating with this function. So in the next video, we're gonna continue building this project. So let's continue building this project. Now that we have these functions, we're gonna read the value that we have in this text area. So we're gonna add a comment, read the text area value. And we're gonna add the following const. It's going to be equal to a tweet. Then we're gonna use document get element by ID. Of course, you can use also query selector. And the ID that we are trying to read is going to be this text area, and we have this tweet. So get element by ID doesn't require the pound sign. So we're gonna add tweet dot value. So we're gonna console.log this tweet. Save this and type something here and add save tweet. And you can see that we have the same value. So we're gonna create, each of these are going to be inserted right here on the my tweets. My tweets has a list, a div called tweet list that is empty, and we're gonna create the elements using JavaScript. So we're gonna remove this, and we're gonna create an li element. So we're gonna add the following: let li, we can use also const li equals to document dot create element, and we're gonna create a list item. Then we're gonna add li text content, and the text content is going to be equals to this tweet. So this is going to be the text inside the li. Finally, we need to grab this tweet list. So I'm gonna copy this ID, and here on the top, I'm going to create as a global variable. So this is going to be accessed by all the functions. Const tweet list is going to be equals to document get element by ID, and then we pass this ID. So now this is going to be available in all the program. So we're going to add this tweet list, and we're gonna use append child, and then we pass this li. So let's make a test. We're gonna reload right here, save this and reload right here. We're gonna add something, my new tweet, and save tweet, and now you can see we have my new tweet right here, and this is going to create the li. You can see that we have document create element, and we create the li, and then it's going to inject also the text, because we're grabbing the value from here, and we're inserting this text as a text content for the li. Then we read the parent, which is going to be this tweet list, and we add append child to insert this into the DOM. At the moment, this is going to be only on the DOM, so if we reload, we're gonna miss everything, but you can see that this is working. Learn JavaScript and save this, and you can see that this is working. We need to add a button right here if we want to remove this once we have the local storage. So we're gonna continue right here in the new tweet. I'm going to create a comment, create the remove button, and it's going to be like this, const, it's going to be remove btn, and we're gonna create another element, document create element, and this is going to be an anchor. Then we're gonna use remove btn, and we're gonna add a class. It's going to be class list, and we're gonna add a new class that is going to be called remove tweet. So this way we can use delegation. Of course, we're gonna add that functionality in the upcoming videos. Finally, we're gonna use remove btn that text content, and this is going to be the text inside the anchors. So we're gonna add an X, something like this. Then we're gonna add the remove button to each tweet that is generated. And it's going to be after the LI is created, right here. So we're gonna create the anchor, then we're gonna create the LI, and then we're gonna add LI, append child, and we're gonna add the remove button. So this is going to add the remove button, and this tweets list, we're gonna cut this, and right here, add to the list, and it's going to be the tweet list. Is going to be adding this LI. So a quick recap, we're going to create these buttons to remove each tweet. Then we're gonna create the LI that will hold the LI and also the tweet that we are typing into the text area. Then inside these LIs, we're going to add the button. So each of these tweets is going to have their own remove tweet button. And finally, we're going to add everything to the main tweet list. So save this and let's make a test. Learning JavaScript and save tweet. Now you can see we have learning JavaScript and we also have this X. It looks like this because we already have, for example, if I open the custom CSS, I already added some styling right here. Remove tweet and remove tweet on hover. So if we add another one, we're gonna add, for example, and we're gonna see how you can clear this. And go to the gym and save tweet. Now you can see we have two different ones, and each of these has the remove button. So this is looking nice. And in the next video, we're gonna see how you can remove these, for example. So let's continue building this project in the next video. So let's continue building this project. Now you can see that we have two different tweets right here. They are added into the DOM. So if we make a refresh, we're gonna lose everything. But I'm gonna show you something really quick. I'm gonna inspect right here, and you can see that these LIs both have this anchor and both have the same class. So we're gonna use delegation in order to know which of these buttons was clicked when the user tries to remove one of these tweets. You can see that we have this tweet list, and this is already a global variable, so we can attach the event listener right here. Remove tweet from the list, and we're gonna use tweet list. So now you can see why I added this as a global variable. It's going to be used right here, and also it's going to be used here on the bottom, the tweet list. So it's going to be used in both functions that we have at this moment. And we're gonna add an event listener right here. And this is going to be a click. So every time someone clicks in one of these, we're gonna execute this function. And this function is going to be called remove tweet, like this. So we're gonna copy this, and we're gonna add a comment, removes the tweets from the DOM function, and remove tweet. And in order to access to delegation, we need to pass the event right here. So we're gonna add, for example, if e.target. Remember, target is going to print the element that was pressed. And right here we have this class, a class remove tweet. So we're gonna use class list that contains, and we're gonna pass remove tweet. In case that this is true, we're gonna print right here yes, and else we're going to add console.log no, something like this. So we're gonna save this, and this is going to remove everything. Let's add something really fast right here, something like this, and I'm gonna open the console. If you click here, you can see that we're printing no. That's because we're using this delegation, and this is listening to any click that we make into the tweet list. But let's click on this X, and now you can see we have yes. So we're gonna remove this else, and right here, instead of having this console.log yes, we're gonna use e.target, and you can see If I inspect the elements again, inspect this, you can see that we are on the anchor. We need to go one level up and remove this li. So we're gonna add e.target parent element and then remove. So we're gonna click this remove item, and then we're gonna scale one level to the li, and then it's going to be removed. So remove is going to be right here, only when you click on the remove tweet. So save this, and let's add something like learning.js, save tweet, let's add another one, save tweet, and one last one like this. So save tweet. Now you can see we have 3 different items. So let's remove this one in the middle, and you can see we click and it's gone, and the other ones are right here. Click this and click this, and now we have the ability to add elements into the DOM and also to remove tweets from the DOM. So in the next video, let's add the function that is going to save these tweets into the local storage. So this project is looking nice. You can see now we have the ability to create tweets, remove. You can also add another one. And in this video, we're gonna add the functionality to save this into the local storage. If you add something here and then reload, you're gonna miss everything. So we need to save this into the storage. So let's open the code, and right here you can see we have this function that is called new tweet. So we're gonna create a new function right here, or we're gonna execute a new function that is gonna be called add tweet to add tweet local storage. Something like this. The idea always when you're working with functions is that you create small functions. If you write a really big function, then it's going to be harder to reuse the functions. So here we're going to insert everything into the DOM, but then I'm going to create this new function. And I'm going to call this one, we're going to add the comment right here, adds the tweets into the local storage. And we're going to create the function add tweet local storage. And this function, you have to pass, for example, the text, the content. This that we have here, dot value, we need to pass this in order to use this information into local storage. So we're going to add another comment right here. It's going to be add to local storage. So something really simple here. I'm going to add console.log, and we're going to add hello from local storage function. So this way we are making sure that this function is called from this other function. So something really quick, and let's open the console. You can see we have hello from a local storage function. So these functions are communicating well, so we're gonna remove this. And first we're gonna read the previous data from storage. Same example as we did before, but in this case I'm going to create another function. Function get tweets from storage, like this. So this is going to be the function that is going to be, or is going to execute the get item into the storage. So let's write this function first. We're gonna create let tweets, and then we're gonna get the values. If null is returned, then we create an empty array. Same example as we did in the last chapter. If local storage dot get item is equals to tweets, and if this value is null, then tweets is going to be an empty array. Else, then we're gonna use tweets equals, and if you remember, we're gonna save this as an array. We're gonna use a function called JSON.stringify, and in order to convert that function from a string into an array, we're gonna use JSON.parse. Same code that we saw in the previous video. So in this case, we're gonna use local storage, get item, and we're gonna pass tweets. You can see that we are reusing, or we have the same code right here. So we can create also another variable, const tweets ls from local storage is going to be equals to this code. And we're gonna add this variable right here and also right here. So something like this is going to work. So the idea of this get tweets from storage is that we can reuse this functionality in other functions. So in this case, we're gonna return the tweets. So this is going to return the value. So we're gonna use this into this function. So it's going to be like this. We're gonna create a new variable, let tweets, that is going to be equals to get tweets from storage. So you can see that when we add a new tweet, we're going to execute this add tweet into local storage. Then we're gonna be in this function, and this function is gonna call this one that is going to read the values from storage. It's going to use these functions, JSON parse, or create an empty array, but everything is going to be into this variable. So we can add something here like console.log tweets and check the values, check that everything is working. Let's add something fast right here, save console, and now you can see we have an empty array because at the moment the get items in the local storage doesn't have anything. So it's going to create this empty array. So we're gonna remove this. So now this is an array. We can add the tweet into the array using tweets, which is the previous function that we have here. This is going to return, remember, the array with all the tweets from the storage, or also the array that is empty, but always is going to be an array. So we're gonna add tweets that push, and we're gonna push the tweet that is passed into this function. If you remember, we're passing the tweet, which is the value that we are reading from the text area. So we're gonna add that into the array. Then we're gonna convert this array into a string, and we're gonna add this into local storage. So let's add convert tweet array into a string, and we're gonna use local storage dot set item, and we're gonna call this one this one is called tweets. Then we add a comma, and we're gonna use a function called JSON dot stringify, and we're gonna pass this array tweets, which in this case we added the tweet using dot push. So save this. Let's add something here really fast. Save. Now let's open application, and now you can see we have tweets, and we have added the first tweet. If we add another one, and save, now you can see that we have an array with two different items. So this is working well. If you reload this, we're gonna miss the contents from the sidebar, from the my tweets, because we need to write a function that is going to grab this value and print the contents right here when the page is loaded. So in the next video, we're going to write that function. In this video, we're going to write a function that every time this page loads, is going to read these values from the storage, and is going to print the tweets here on my tweets. So we need to open the code again, scroll to the top. Here on the event listeners, if you already have experience working with jQuery, there is a function called document ready. It's going to be really similar, but this is going to be the JavaScript way. So we're going to add document dot add event listener, and this event is called DOM content loaded, like this. DOM in uppercase, C uppercase, and also the letter L. So we're gonna add a comma, and we're gonna call this function local storage on load. So we need to write this function. Copy this and scroll to the bottom, and we're gonna add prints local storage tweets on load. So we're gonna write a function and the name of the function. In this case, we don't have to pass the event. This is going to be every time this page is loaded. So we need to read these values from the applications. If you remember, we have already this function that is called get tweets from storage. So we're going to add something like this. Tweets, let tweets equals to get tweets from storage, and then we're going to add console.log, and we're going to send these tweets to the console. So save this, open the console, and now you can see we have the tweets right here. So using this function, you can see that this already creates the JSON.parse. So this is already an array. And you can see now the benefit of using this function. We can use this in the add tweet to local storage and also in local storage on load. So we're going to remove this. So this is already an array. We can use a for each and print each element. So we're going to add loop through storage and then print the values. We're gonna use this array tweets, then for each, and this is going to be a function. We have tweets, in this case it's going to be tweet to print the individual value for this one, and then we're gonna use a really similar code as the one that we have right here on the top. So we're gonna copy this and paste right here. So we're gonna create an element. It's gonna create an anchor with the class remove button and also the X. It's gonna create an li by default with this li. Then it's going to add the content from the tweet. You can see we have the same variable name right here. And also it's going to add this remove button into the li. And finally this tweet list, which is the global right here, is going to be used as also in this function. So save this, and now you can see every time we reload, we have these tweets already into the my tweets list. So if you remove these, and they are going to be removed from the DOM, but if you reload, they are going to be here. So we need to write another function that is going to remove this from the local storage. So let's see how you can do that in the next video. So now we're reading the tweets from the local storage. The problem that we're facing now is that every time we remove this and we reload, they are going to reappear. So let's write a function that is going to remove also the tweets from the storage. So let's open the code, and right here we have this remove tweet. After we call this remove tweet, I'm going to call a function that is called remove from storage. And we're going to add a function called remove tweet local storage. So we're going to name this function like this. And we need to pass the text. We need to pass actually the text that we want to remove. So for example, I'm going to add a console.log right here. Console.log, and we can access that text by adding e.target.parent element and then reading that value using text content. So we're gonna comment this because we haven't created this function yet. And let's create one of these, and let's remove one of these. You can see that this is going to print the value, but since we are adding this anchor and this is part of the tweet, it's going to add also this X. You can see, let's remove this one. It says another one, but it's adding also the X. We already saw how you can remove these parts from a string. So we're gonna fix this in this function. We're gonna remove this, and we're gonna pass that text into the remove tweet from local storage. I'm gonna scroll to the bottom, and we're gonna create this function. We're gonna create the comment removes the tweet from local storage, and we're gonna create the function remove tweet local storage. This is going to take a tweet, and let's make the test. We're gonna add console.log just to make sure that the functions are properly communicated. Let's add something like here. Save this, click here. Now you can see we have here. If we send this value to the console, save this, click here. Now you can see we have the text, and we need to remove this X. We're gonna remove this X using substring. But first we're gonna create the variable called let tweets. That is going to be equals to this get tweets from local storage. So now this function is going to be used in 3 different functions. Instead of repeating the same code in all the functions, we write this function and we can reuse this in the program. So next I'm going to, let's add a comment right here. Get tweets from storage. And then right after here, we're gonna remove the X from the tweet. So we can use also, for example, another function, another variable, sorry. We're gonna call this one, for example, const tweet delete. And we're gonna add tweet, which is coming from the other function and contains this X. We're gonna add tweet dot substring. And if you remember, if you add, for example, a 0 right here, and then you add tweet that length -1 is going to remove the last character. So we can console.log this, console log this tweet delete. So save this and click here. And now you can see we remove the X using this function substring. Now, in order to remove this, you can see that we have only the strings. There is no index like a database or something. Using a database, for example, SQL, you can select the ID and remove that. In this case, it's going to be a little different. We're going to remove this. And we're going to read these tweets. And we're going to loop through the tweets and remove the tweet that is equal. So we're gonna create a for each. So we're gonna use tweets. And remember that we have this function that is returning the tweets from the storage and is formatted also in an array. So we're gonna use for each tweets.forEach, and we're gonna write a function. This is going to be the singular name. We have tweets in plural because this is an array, but using for each, we're going to access the individual value. So it's a good idea to use tweet. But I think we're going to call this one tweet ls because this is the tweet from local storage, because we already have a tweet right here, tweet. So to avoid confusion, we're going to call this one tweet ls. So in this case, we're going to add an if, and we're gonna tweet delete in case that this tweet delete is equal to the current tweet ls. When we are doing the for each, I'm going to add console.log. Yes, something really simple. At the moment, it doesn't remove anything. So we're gonna reload here. We're gonna click here, and you can see we have yes, because we are reading the value this text, and it found the text into the array. So we're almost done. The idea here is, for example, if I send this console tweets to the console, save this, is that if you open the console and click here on remove, you can see that we have 2 different items. What we are doing here is to compare this text that we already grabbed from the tweet, and using substring we remove the X, is to compare this value with any of these that exist on the array from local storage. Now, we're going to remove this because this is already an array. If you remember, there is a function to remove elements from the middle of an array. Of course, there are other functions to remove elements from the beginning or from the end, but in this case, we are not really sure which element the user is going to remove. So we're going to use splice, which remember, you pass the index and how many items you want to remove, and it's going to remove the elements from the array. But we need to pass the original array. So in the case that the tweet to delete is equals to the current tweet in the for each, we're going to remove that. We're going to add tweets dot splice. And if you remember, we need to pass the index. It's hard to know which is the index, but gratefully the for each, if you add a comma right here and pass index, is going to tell you which is the index. So you can pass the index right here. Second parameter of the splice is going to be how many items you want to remove. In this case, we only want to remove the element that is click, so we're going to add 1. Finally, if you open this console, you can see that the array has 2 items. When we run this as splice, it's going to remove an element from the array. So let's add something simple here, like console.log tweets. Save this, click here, and now you can see when you click here, it's printing 2 different items in the array. This is right here. Then we make the for each and we use a splice that is going to remove one of these, and at the moment we only have 1 element. So this is going to be the rest of the array that we need to pass into local storage. So we're going to add local storage dot set item, and the local storage item, the value, the key is called tweets. So we're going to pass tweets right here. Then we add a comma, and this is going to be an array. So we're going to use JSON.stringify that will convert that array into a string, and we pass tweets. So we're going to add a comment right here, save the data. So at this moment, the array is going to be remove the element that we want to take away from local storage. Is going to be inserted into local storage again. So reload this, let's remove this one, remove. And now you can see we have only 1 item called another one. You can see that this is printing something here. We can remove this, and we are not going to need this. So remove this and reload this. And now you can see we only have 1 tweet. So now we can save this. So if you add something else, learning.js, and you save the tweet, now you can see we have 2 tweets. Reload this, and you can see that the values are there, and you can remove this. Reload again, and you can see we have another one. So this one, this project is working, and now you have the ability to create tweets from the text area, display these into the HTML, and remove them from local storage. A really complete project, in my opinion. So let's finish this example. Let's scroll to the top. Here we have this new tweet. And right after we add a new tweet, I'm gonna print an alert. Something really simple. Print the alert. And we're gonna add an alert. Tweet added. And let's add something here. And click on save. Tweet added. Okay. And if you reload, you can see that we have the content and everything is working just fine. If you want to clear the console, so for example, you add something and you click it on save tweet, you can see that we have something here. If you want to clean the text area, right here on the function, and right here you can see we have tweet and we have this value. And we can read the form, this new tweet, and we can pass, for example, the keyword this that reset. So this is going to be the current form that we have here on the top, and this one that is submitted. So you can add something else, save, tweet added, okay, and it's going to clean the form. So this is going to refer the element that triggered this function, which in this case is the form, when we make the submission. So this was a really complete project, in my opinion. And you can see that we put in practice everything that we saw in the fundamentals. So let's continue in the next chapter. We're gonna see another project that is called the shopping cart.